This meeting is a meeting of the school board and the public for a purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There will be time for public participation as indicated by the agenda. The meeting site is fully accessible, and any person requiring further accommodation should contact the superintendent. With that, we will call to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Bertrand, if you could lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have roll call. All members are present. Next, we have the mission statement. Mr. Clauser.
Lebanon Community School Corporation.
This resolution, the board is simply stating that the school has found that there is a need for these projects that these bonds will support. So with that, appreciate the board's consideration of that first resolution.
Do we have a motion to adopt the resolution determining the need for 2025 project?
Motion.
Mrs. Hutchison, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hendricks, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the resolution approving form of high school lease. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
So this resolution is simply stating that the school corporation is choosing to fund a portion of this project with a lease financing, as we have done in the past. The building corporation will purchase a portion of the high school at closing for at least the appraisal value, and then the school corporation will have that then leased back by the building corporation, and the school corporation will pay lease rental to the building corporation for that. So appreciate the board's consideration of the second resolution.
All makes perfect sense, right?
Mhm.
Do we have a motion to adopt this resolution as read?
I'll move.
Mr. Clauser, do you have a second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Bertrand? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is additional appropriation resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. So as I mentioned with the previous resolution, while a portion will be financed through a lease, the other portion will be done with general obligation bonds, and these general obligation bonds will be dollars that the school corporation will receive, and therefore we must appropriate those dollars to be spent on items mentioned in the project resolution. So at this time, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Parks, for any public comment on the appropriation of these dollars.
All right. Do we have any public comment? Does not look like any. With that will close.
Thank you, and we will then appreciate the board's consideration of the additional appropriation resolution that states what I just said, that we will spend the dollars on the project.
Do we have a motion to adopt this additional appropriation resolution?
Motion.
Mr. Bertrand, do we have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hutchison. We have a motion and a second. Any additional comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And last is the final bond resolution.
Our final resolution is the final bond resolution, and this is the lengthy one that states a variety of things. Among that, it establishes the amounts to be borrowed, the term of repayment, the maximum interest rates for the general obligation bonds, and the details of the general obligation bonds. It also approves the forms of the 10th supplement to the master continuing disclosure undertaking, which is by law what the school corporation must do when it enters into a lease. So,
All right. With that, do we have a motion to adopt the final bond resolution?
I'll move to adopt.
Mr. Clauser. Do you have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hendricks. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. With that, we will close the hearing and open up the regular meeting with the approval of minutes for July 16th, public hearing and regular meeting. That was included in your board packet. Do we have a motion to approve these minutes?
I'll motion.
Mr. Hendricks. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is superintendent's announcements and celebrations.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. First, wanted to just thank everybody for a great start to the school year. We obviously have construction still happening in many of our campuses, but we thank our parents and staff and students for their patience as we work through that, but an outstanding start to the school year. Just a quick update to the board on personal communication devices. We talked about the procedures at grades 6 through 12. Always a few growing pains and hiccups, which are to be expected, as folks get used to it. But the feedback, as I've met with the principals, is that we are seeing some more engagement in classrooms, more conversation taking place during class. One of the principals shared that a teacher had shared that some students started leaving the classroom and walked past without getting their device because they've been without it for the entire 80-plus minute class period and kind of had gotten used to that not being in their hand. So had to remind them, hey, grab that on your way out. So all good signs that we're learning through it and good things to report from that standpoint. Wanted to take a moment. We just finished our board budget workshop, but I did want to take a moment and kind of brag on my colleague here to my left, Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations, Mr. Dennis. As we've taken on some new debt with the board action this evening, each time we issue debt as a school district, we're required to submit to S&P for our credit rating, and that all municipalities and school districts do that. But even with incurring the additional appropriations for the bonds that we're selling now, we were able to maintain our credit AA plus credit rating, underlying A plus rating, even incurring these expenses that we have. Mr. Dennis could explain the AA plus a little bit better than I can in detail. But S&P cited his work in the 10-year cash flow projections he provides the board, the ongoing meetings with our maintenance and transportation to anticipate costs that we may have in the future. And so the steps that he's put in place were instrumental in the board maintaining that credit rating. So I just wanted to publicly thank him for that outstanding work that he's doing for the district and on your behalf. Wanted to remind the board and the community that the State of the Schools program will be next week on August 28th at 8 o'clock. Is there a link on the website? People want to RSVP. There's still time to do that so we can prepare for breakfast. We always receive a few questions about whether it's going to be live streamed or recorded. I like to wander around a little bit too much, and we have the student panel up there. It really doesn't, the format is not set up well for that type of a format. However, we will publish the slide deck and the information that we will present for that, and that will be public both on social media and on our website following that. So if you receive some questions about whether it's going to be live streamed, that's kind of the reason behind that. Just wanted to share with the board that as well. Our enrollment update, all indications are pointing towards us continuing to grow in student enrollment. We are required to submit an official number to the state on October 1st of each year. So we hate to get too excited or one way or another until we know how many students and families may be moving out of the district, maybe moving into the district, but indications are we are continuing to grow in enrollment. I will have a more solid number for the board at your next meeting. We'll be very close to our previous ADM date at the next board meeting, so I'll have a better number for you as well. I wanted to take a moment with the bonds that you've recently approved. I thought the board might enjoy seeing some images, preliminary images of the high school project. So I thought I'd throw some of those on the screen for you this evening to show what we're providing for our students in our community. So if I can get this to get up on the screen, we'll give it a shot here. Looks like it's working or trying to. Like Mr. Dennis, sometimes I have a little bit of a delay in our, let me go back. There we go. Sorry, I didn't start at the beginning. I'm going too fast for you. So you may or may not recognize this. This is the commons outside of the cafeteria space. You can see it opens up. We're removing some of the doors so that it is a complete open space. We'll be securing the serving lines with the secure curtains that will come down and secure that place. But this will be a open commons area. There's some more images coming up for students to gather before and after school, classes to gather et cetera. Additional seating for the cafeteria during lunches as well. There's just kind of a peek through that opening, just an update and refresh to the cafeteria, some monitors, as you can see, as well, some more seating to kind of help with the traffic flow in there a bit. These colors, by the way, are not final. These are very, very early renderings, so you're going to see like bright white walls and dark lighting in some of these spaces. This will be very lit spaces and very bright. So these are just very, very early renderings, the pictures. So this would be walking down the main hallway from the main entrance of the high school. You can see the what's currently a kind of a study room to the right as you come down the main entrance to the high school is now going to be a kind of a study stair area for students to gather. We'll have places for them to charge their devices. They can sit and work individually in those spaces. To the left is what's currently called Tiger Town. It's kind of an enclosed area. It was kind of almost like a convenience store, if you will, kind of a setup when Mr. Bertrand was a student here. Now it's going to be opened up on a two-sided counter for students to study and gather, monitors on the screens that students can connect to. Also, we can project things like college opportunities, scholarship opportunities, current events, things like that, that they'll be able to be part of as well. It's a little bit closer look as you're walking down there now to kind of get a feel for what that space will look like. There's a look back toward the main office, so now you can kind of see that gallery area to the right and what those study stairs will look like. Kind of coming around the corner there as well. It's kind of just different views as you see as well. This is the athletic area. We're going to do some updates as well. Again, it will not be these colors. It will be much brighter. This is kind of the Hall of Fame out near our auxiliary gym hallway. We're going to be consolidating all of the larger pictures that are conference championships, for example, into a digital format. So there to the left, you'll see kind of an indentation, and the vision there is an interactive screen where you can select the year and the sport, and you can pull up those you can still have access to those conference championship pictures. Then we'll be focusing more on displaying team pictures that are up on the wall that are your sectional champions and your regional champions and so forth. That'll give us more trophy space as well during down that hallway. So this is a look back and kind of what's in our media center, and then back toward where that current group study room is. That's a stage up there. So you can have classes, present to classes, guidance can come down, do presentations. There'll be a sound system on that little platform area as well, team meetings, PTO meetings, athletic booster meetings perhaps in this space for students as well. There's the first look at the rendering of the activity center that would be constructed here between the auxiliary gym to our right and along the Rosensteel gym area. You can't see in the background yet. To the right on that screen will be a new football locker room area, team film room area, et cetera. We'll be repurposing the current football locker rooms into physical education locker rooms, giving a refresh to all of the locker room spaces. That was not touched in the 2011-12 renovation, so we have a lot of outdated fixtures and things like that that needed to be updated in our locker room spaces. Just some other general kind of views of what this would be looking from our kind of student parking lot toward the activity center. Again, not the colors that we're adopting here, but just gives the board a look at 3 courts. There'll be a 3-lane walking track around those courts. One of the courts will be wooden. 2 of them will be a synthetic material. There'll be an observation deck on the view that you're looking at currently on this screen that will help for our color guard and winter percussion and things like that. So it'll give them a space here in the high school to be able to rehearse. And then this is looking back from the Rosensteel gym entrance toward the football field back toward the parking lot. You can kind of see we're still in the design phases, but wanted to draw attention. Very fortunate that our community is so involved in the school and our alumni is so involved in the school. And the class of 1970, Jane Myers, former board member who sat where you're all sitting, has been very involved in a fundraising effort to help us fund an outdoor classroom area, so our classes can come down and enjoy this space. This will be all grass and there'll be trees, and so this is, again, very, very raw rendering. But you can kind of see a shadow area there in the background, which is where that outdoor classroom area is going to be located. And thank Mr. Parks for dedicating some additional time to come in and meet with the class of 70 and help with some of the design of that as well. So I'm really excited to bring you some pictures of that in the future as well. So just wanted to kind of get everybody excited about what we're about ready to break ground on here in the spring of 25, and appreciate your support, the community support for outstanding facilities for our students.
It is excellent. Anything else?
And I think I do, but I want to get off the screen here if I can. And I have a couple of more items. If I can get my screen to wake up. There we go. And no, I think that was it, actually.
That was it.
That was my last item, so thank
A
you.
lot of exciting stuff, though.
Yep.
So, next, we have informational items. Any update? Actually, you kind of
That was a
provide,
big
that was a
update
big
right
update right there.
Yeah,
with
we'll
the
have some more renderings at the
renovations
middle
and-
school as we get closer. We're actually having our, what we call a room-by-room study with Schmidt Associates. We really get kind of into the weeds in the construction project for this high school project next week? No, tomorrow. We're going down tomorrow. And so we'll have some more updated designs for you soon, I think.
Excellent. Next, we have consent agenda staff matters, classified, certified, and ECA.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Parks. Under classified staff this evening, asking for approval of numbers 621 through 652. Resignations 653 through 661. Retirement numbers 662. Termination number 663. And transfers numbers 664 through 668. For certified staff, leave of absences for numbers 203 and 204. New hires 205 to 215. Resignations 216 through 220, and a void contract number 221. For our extracurricular recommendations this evening, new hires 598 through 616, and not returning or resignations 617 through 619, and approval of a volunteer coach number 620.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the staff matters, classified, certified, and ECA as provided in our background notes?
All
Yeah.
motion.
Mr. Hendricks. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser. We have a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, on to business matters.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. In addition to the usual financial update, I also included in the financial update this evening a packet of prime payment summary, I'll call it. I told the board that quarterly I'll provide these. There's quite a bit of information. Monthly is probably too much, but quarterly give you an update. And the information you can glean from these would be essentially the progress of how we're doing at each one of our sites, percent complete. So leading off in terms of dollars out the door, Perry Worth is at 79% complete. Probably a little bit inaccurate to say that the building project is 79% complete. Prime contractors can bill for stored materials, but not maybe install them yet with a proper COI and photos and things like that. But it does give you a ballpark. We're more than halfway done at Perry Worth, which I would hope we would be because we're more than a year into it. But again, you can see the magnitude of payments going out the door. I know I've been a broken record in past months of our claims that I'm reading being higher. Well, Obviously, you approve those claims every week, but also I want the board to see the amount of dollars that are leaving from our trustee bank as well, at the Bank of New York. So we are now up to 5 different construction projects going on, as you'll see the middle school and the transportation project there as well. So any questions on that or the usual board update before the reading of the claims?
Any questions? Nope.
All right, so with that then, asking approval of claims for the month of $9,354,670.30. Payrolls of $2,916,382.07 for a total of $12,271,052.37.
You're getting good at that. You're not stumbling anymore. All right.
Always proud of myself.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to approve claims for payment and for payroll? Ms. Hutchison. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bertrand. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have comments from the public. There's nobody signed up. Hearing none, we'll move on to action items. First is request approval of change orders. Mr. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. All in all, a fairly standard month for change orders, absent one. And for that, I included an email explanation from our project manager at the end of the packet of change orders here to explain the need for the additional scope from our structural steel contractor due to some unforeseen issues with the existing architecture at Perry Worth and the bracing and structural steel that needed to take place in an occupied building. These items were unforeseen at the time of bidding and have required a substantial amount more, not just steel, but the labor to install that with it being an occupied building. So that's the nature of that. Again, as always, in the upper right-hand corner of every project, including our remaining allowance dollars and contingency dollars that reflect the fact that we're still within budget overall despite these change orders being issued to these prime contractors. So happy to answer any questions, but would respectfully request approval of these change orders for the month.
All right. Thank you so much. Do we have a motion to approve change orders as provided in the background notes?
All motion.
Mr. Hendricks. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have approval of 25 policy analytics service.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Asking for our annual engagement with Policy Analytics to do property tax analysis, obviously with the dynamics of our community, the change, invaluable information to allow us to stay in tune with what's going on in our community in terms of our taxing unit. So appreciate the board's consideration.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve this contract with the Policy Analytics?
I'll move to approve.
Mr. Clauser, do we have a second?
Second.
That was Mr. Bertrand. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is request for approval of commercial credit card agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. As many of us may have in our personal finances, the district also has a credit card that earns a rebate, a cash rebate for us annually. As the board knows, at our reorganization meeting every January, you approve the limits of credit cards, and those are the credit cards that I'm referring to. A large amount of spend on those are, of course, accounts payable for our vendors that allow us to pay via credit card. But our previous vendor did lose the contract with the state and no longer were offering a competitive rebate to us. I then approached banks about providing a proposal, and the proposal you have in front of you this evening is the bank that provided the highest rebate. In fact, it was good that we did this, even when we had our previous credit card, the bank Regions came in with their agreement 30 basis points higher. So with this rebate, it is estimated that we will, on the exact same spend as last year, would earn $16,000 more in rebate. So I'd like the board to consider our new commercial card agreement with Regions Bank this evening.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve this agreement with Regions Bank? Mr. Hutchison. Do you have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hendricks. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of resolution to transfer recurring amounts from education fund to operation fund.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. So for budget year '25, asking the board for an authorization to transfer $375,000 monthly from the education fund to the operations fund. Do that 12 months, that equals $4.5 million. Again, we are not stating how much we will transfer, but just at most. So not more than this per month is what the resolution states. This is part of our budget process. We do turn this resolution into our budget representative. So this is standard. We do this every year. Appreciate the board's consideration.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve resolution to transfer these amounts from the education fund to the operations fund?
Motion.
Mr. Bertrand. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have approval of joint resolution for transfer of personal property to Equiventure Therapeutic Lighting.
Thank you. This is to share with the board. I'd be bringing this resolution to you regarding the transfer of property, the covered wagon at Hattie B. Stokes Elementary to Equiventure, which is the special needs equine center up near Kokomo. And so presenting this as our part, their board has already approved on their end. So this is our part of that. We have received the fee, as you see in the resolution from them as well. So respectfully submit for your approval this evening.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution for the transfer of personal property to Equiventure?
All motion.
Mr. Hendricks, do we have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hutchinson. A motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think it's great. Hopefully they'll maybe send us a picture of it.
Yes,
once
that
they
would be great. We
put
might
it
be
in
able to make
use.
that happen.
That'd be
Thank you.
great. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is a request approval of supplemental pay.
Yes, this has been an item that the board has considered in the past as well. This is a supplemental pay which is allowable under new Indiana code. It's outside the amount that might be in the collective bargaining agreement for a certified staff member that's a member of the collective bargaining agreement. This is for Ms. Kathy McGee, who is a teacher through our joint services for deaf, hard of hearing, but also holds a certification in blind, low vision. Difficult positions to find and fill with her dual licensure. She's able to fill the position which would normally be filled by 2 teachers. So for that extra caseload and that extra amount that she has to take on, we're proposing this amount as supplemental pay. Again, that's happened in the past year with the board. We'll continue to post for that position, and we will hopefully get that filled in future years, but respectfully submit this for your consideration this evening.
All right. Do we have a motion then to approve supplemental pay as read?
Move to approve.
Mr. Clauser, do I have a second? Mr. Bertrand. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Sounds like we found a gem there.
It's a tough, these are tough ones to fill, for sure.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have second reading of policy updates.
Yes, this was the first communication devices. This is required by the board to update this policy or to pass this policy from the new Indiana code. So did update near what is it, page 1, 2, 3. I'd left some areas unchecked, about the 3rd paragraph down in the first reading, but I've updated that for your consideration. Really no change, by the way, on what we selected there under what we're currently doing in our current policy.
All right.
So.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the policy updates as provided in our document?
All
Board.
motion.
Mr. Hendricks, thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hutchison, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of overnight and out-of-state trips. Mr. Martin.
One trip is just overnight, the other is overnight and out of state. Do you want them separate, together?
Together, be fine.
Overnight is central to Marengo Cave. This replaces the previous
Do we have a motion to approve the overnight and out-of-state trips as provided?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Hendricks, do you have a second?
Second.
Mr. Clauser?
Got me faster than that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We have upcoming board meetings and events. August 28th is State of the Schools. September 17th is our next regular board meeting.